Okay, now we're going to install the camshaft. I use this little 7/16 bolt here as my handle. And this Cam's roller, this hydraulic roller, requires no break-in. That's the beauty of it. I recommend these types of camshafts to all my customers. Very, very simple. You fire your new engine up and you let it idle and you're ready to rock and roll. Flat tappet cam, boy, you know, break it in, change springs, it's just not worth it. Just spend the money. There you go, problem solved. All it needs is a little oil. You don't have to go use any special lubricant or anything like that. So simply oil it up, slide her in. Simple as that. Next, I think we'll put the timing chain and gear on. That's from Cam's also. Multi-keyway. That way you can advance the cam or retard the cam as needed. This particular camshaft from Cam's, specially ground for this turbocharger application, already has 4 degrees advance built into it. You'll notice that the lobe separation is 112 and the intake center line is set at 108. That means if you put the timing chain on at 0, meaning no advance, it will automatically have 4 advance ground into it. So if we just simply line up the dots at the 0 mark on the timing chain, it should, when we degree the cam in, should be right at 108 lobe separation. Fits like a charm. Okay, dots line up. Should be good to go. When we degree this in, should be right at 108. I've always found those camshafts from Camp to be right on the money. The cam choice from Cam's, relatively mild on the intake and exhaust duration. You still need to have some cylinder pressure in this thing to be responsive. You know, keep in mind, this is not a race motor. This is a street strip engine, you know. It's still going to have quite a lot of power, but as far as the low speed drivability and the cruising speed drivability, the camshaft's a pretty mild lobe, but again, it'll work rather well with this application. Okay, these are from Flat Out gaskets. These are multi-layer steel gaskets, very similar to what the factory used in the 60s and early 70s. They used an embossed gasket, and basically all of these high points is what does all the sealing in these gaskets. Now, the original factory gaskets were one steel shim 17 thousandths thick. These are multi-layer, and basically what it is a hardened steel shim gasket, but it's sandwiched between a layer of another material, which I don't know exactly what it is. It could be aluminum, could be something, but bottom line is it's almost like a spring. When combustion pressure tends to want to lift the head, it will actually move like a spring with that cylinder head. So there's some guys that run this type of gasket in you know, 1,000+ horsepower blown applications. So I mean, they definitely do the job, and they will definitely do the job in this application. They do not require any sealant, but I have to admit, I don't know if I trust that statement, so I usually put a dab of silicone around the entire gasket, and then you're pretty much guaranteed not to have a leak. I'm sure that the manufacturer would frown upon that, but I do it anyway. The Edelbrock Performer RPM heads, great head out of the box. Basically, your average Joe on a 455 10-to-1 compression engine for the street, just a basic engine, they'll make almost 500 horsepower just right out of the box. And what we've done here, the only thing that we've changed is we've upgraded to a dual spring with a little more seat pressure and a little more open pressure for this hydraulic roller cam. It'll allow a little more RPM out of the engine, a little more longevity, but for your basic average motor, the springs that come on it are just fine. Very, very light amount of sealer. We don't want sealer squeezing everywhere. We just want a little coat. When I'm all done, I'll just tap it around like this and just so it spreads out. I mean, we're not talking a lot of sealer here because let me tell you what, it'll just squeeze out, make a mess. Okay, let's set the head on. I'm going to put this bolt in there so that the head doesn't fall off here. Now these ARP washers that come with the head bolts, not the studs but the head bolts, if you look closely you'll notice a chamfer on one side of the washer and no chamfer on the other side of the washer. You have to make sure that that chamfered side goes toward the underhead radius. What we want to do is put Molly on the underhead of the washer, on top of the washer, on the threads, all of the friction points on the head bolts. All the bolts are the same length with the exception of the two outer lower bolts. Those are the short ones. They're pretty good heads right out of the box. I mean, are they a full race head? No. But I've had these heads on a number of engines that make pretty good power, you know, just out of the box, no modification. So it's a great choice for this application where we just need something to just bolt on and work and not be cracked and not leak water, you know, all the problems associated with all of these. You gotta be careful when you put these on. That spring steel gasket will push the head right off if you're not careful.